Welcome to April's Garage, and we have an unprecedented event coming up starting next Tuesday. We are live on air with Barrett Jackson. It is going to be incredible. Over 2,000 cars going across their block. I feel like we're presenting for them right now, but I'm in the zone. I've been preparing.
You've been prepping, yes.
I've been prepping, studying all these cars. Luckily, today we have the voice of Barrett Jackson. Can I call him that?
Yes.
It's like the voice of heaven that rains down over Barrett Jackson. He narrates the entire broadcast.
Directs traffic.
Yes. And knows
keeps us in line.
Way too much about cars. Rick DeBrule is joining us. Rick, we're so excited about next week. 37 hours of live TV with some of the most incredible cars Barrett Jackson has ever seen. Are you excited?
Yeah, in fact, I mean, they're talking more than 2,000 cars this time. That'll be a new record for us. I mean, I think last year we were at 1960 or something like that. So more than 2,000 is going to be pretty amazing.
Right. And just looking at the docket and all of the cars and then the late additions of cars, it's almost unreal, unheard of. And for all of them to go at no reserve, which means that any price the car, there's no set price on what you can bid the car to. It's going to sell no matter what, which is wild when you think of all these cars, 2,000 cars going
They're
across.
not paying April for this yet, which is interesting. Yeah, she's really doing a good job. With a little extra bonus here for this plug from April. It's wonderful.
What I understand why people do reserves on cars, and I understand it because you're concerned about whether you're going to get enough money. But I'm also a big fan of the way Barrett Jackson does it with no reserve, because to me it's a real honest auction. In a reserve auction, they can pretend to bid up to just below the reserve, and you don't know whether there were actually bidders in the room or not. At Barrett Jackson, you really know whether there's bidders in the room. And as I always say, a car is going to bring what it's going to bring. I mean, the people in the room there, for the most part, know what cars are coming up. So I personally love no reserve auctions.
Right.
Well, what I think's changed, there was the fall Scottsdale. And everybody was worried that was going to take away from the January Scottsdale, or people were holding back. And both events still on their own, it seems like, well, we haven't had January yet, but it seems like January is not hurting at all from the fall Scottsdale, it seems like, in my opinion, as far as the docket. But I also think that has to do with the car market itself and it being a little bit slower, a little bit more picky, where someone just sitting and advertising their car for sale, it's a tough market right now. There's a lot of cars out there for sale, and not as many buyers. So if you're wanting to move something, well, bring it to Barrett Jackson. It's no reserve. It's going to sell no matter what. And I think that's why you're seeing this big inflow currently of cars. Personally, what do you think, Rick?
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I think we're also kind of seeing a big shift at Barrett Jackson, I think, in this particular auction, because we're seeing a much larger percentage of supercars than exotic, more Ferraris, more Lamborghinis, a Pagani, an Aston Martin Zagato shooting brake. I mean, we're seeing cars that, to be honest with you, we haven't seen in the numbers we're seeing at this auction. So I think we're starting to see a little bit of a shift. It's not, don't get me wrong, there's tons of great muscle cars that'll be crossing the block, a lot of great customs and resto mods, but the number of exotics and supercars is really going up at this auction.
Well, and you brought up the Pagani, and when I saw that on the docket, I had to catch my breath for a minute, because that car going across, open to anyone, it's available to anyone to buy it at no reserve.
Huayra.
The Pagani Huayra.
We have to work on our pronunciation.
Exactly, I know. But that just seems unreal. Like, is this actually happening?
I tell you what, seeing a Pagani is like seeing a unicorn. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I have never seen a Pagani in the flesh. So for me, this is going to be exciting just to be around the darn thing. So having a car like that, as you say, April, not just on the block, but crossing at no reserve, that's pretty darn impressive.
Right. But two Hemi Superbirds. I'm trying to think of what's flanking the Pagani. Let me pull it up here. What's flanking the Pagani, because obviously just having that would be a big deal, but a Porsche 959. Lamborghini Aventador Ultime, and then afterwards a Murcielago SV, so Super Veloce, which that could be $1 million car now. Right. They only made a few of the SVs before. It's right in the bad time of the recession with the Murcielago, and they wanted to go out with a bang before the Aventador. So crazy, the exotic stuff that Rick's talking about. Just
Well, and so when
crazy.
that happens, both of you guys are on the block. Can you
Maybe I might
explain-
get pulled off. Sometimes.
Normally, you guys are on the block. Can you explain what that energy is like? Because I feel like almost the crowd kind of pushes, and everyone wants to be close to the action.
You could come up and do it. We keep showing like, come on,
They're
come
like
on.
the amount that I know
This-
doesn't
I
hold
think
a
this should be
candle
the
to
year,
what you
April.
guys
Do it.
know.
You could do
But
it.
what
This
is that
should be the year
feeling
up of the block.
up there in the moment when those cars go across?
I mean, I think anytime you've got big money on the block, people just, kind of really gravitate to what's going on. I'll be honest with you. There was a time, and I'm going to say about 15 years ago, where we had really good money on the block, expensive cars, but we tended to get there really quickly. If it was a $300,000 car, suddenly before you knew it, you were bid at $290 or $295. There was no excitement in the room. What I love is when a car starts going, 300, 325, 350, 375, and it works its way up. And I think we've seen a lot more of that over the last couple of years. So the excitement actually grows, and it's something fun to watch while you're either in the room or even on television.
Right. And what are you looking forward to? I know we have a Batmobile coming through. Were you there? You've been there forever when they sold the Batmobile. Different.
Oh, yeah.
Is it similar version? Is this where does this fit in?
Well, I mean, we have a Batmobile Tumbler, which is, that's different. Obviously, that's the one, the Christian Bale Batman car. It's a replica, and that's cool because, to be honest with you, we see quite a few of the first generation replicas. We've seen the original across the block as well, but seeing the Batman Tumbler, I think, is kind of fun. And I think Warner Brothers or whatever the studio that makes it has a replica you can buy for like $3 million. I think this will be a screaming deal in comparison.
Right. And there's a lot of movie cars going across.
Yeah.
Well, replica movie cars.
Oh,
A lot of interesting. I mean, just odd, interesting clone stuff. I mean, there's a Wayne's World Pacer. There's a family truckster. So here's interesting. There's actually 3 Beverly Hillbilly cars. By the way, do you guys know who the Beverly Hillbillies are?
Yeah, because that's who we are now.
Well, I mean, we didn't strike oil. I would love to have that unlimited money from all that. We're more like Green Acres,
Okay.
honestly. But yes.
But
Let
what's
me tell you a story
interesting
about
is
a guy named Jed. Poor mountaineer,
we
barely
actually
kept him.
have not just a clone of the Beverly Hillbillies car, but we also have the original Beverly Hillbilly car that George Barris produced for the TV show. Both of them part of the same collection crossing the block at this auction, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, this Berkowitz collection, which this guy
Right.
was obsessed with TV and movies. So, I imagine like he bought the replica and then he got the real deal, and
Right.
and why not keep both, right? There's a Herbie, the family truckster, like you said. The Batmobile's the highlight, obviously, but it's ridiculous. And then like just random cars from like celebrities, as far as like Jackie Gleason's golf cart and his Cadillac, or just other celebrity-owned vehicles.
Johnny Carson. Yeah, we always have a degree of those, and it's always interesting to try to figure out how much is that going to add to the value. Are people going to pay more because Johnny Carson owned it? It'll be interesting to find out.
Right. Now, what is the star car for you at this auction?
Well, I mean, to be honest, there's 2 of them. The Pagani HRA, I think, is absolutely, if not the top, close to the top. Personally, my all-time favorite car is a Mercedes Gullwing, the 300 SL. And we have not just a 300 SL, but a spectacular-looking 300
Which
SL.
last year, I think we set a record for non-alloy body Gullwing.
Yeah,
At
and so
$3.5
for me,
million, something like that. So, and then this one's
Yeah.
equally spectacular. So we'll see if lightning
and it's a
strikes
unique
twice.
color. It's kind of a graphite color as opposed to the usual silver, and it's a factory color, so it's really cool. I mean, once again, if I could pick any car out of the auction to have personally, that would be the one. I
Right.
just don't think I'm going to be able to pony up enough cash for it.
What about
Trade
you?
your eyes that in for it, right?
What about
But
you, Tyler?
I'm sort of the same with the Huayra. I talked about the Murcielago,
Right.
that being a big deal, because I don't think everyone's ever sold at an auction before.
Right.
So I was curious what that's going to do. And then, the Aventador Ultimate is another one where it's interesting because it's the end of the line for the Aventador, and they were selling for over MSRP, but that has sort of changed now with the Rovelto being out and those being the new hot thing. Aventadors are sort of tumbling down, so it'll be interesting to see if that, the final boss of the Aventador, holds.
Right.
And just me personally, I hope not. I mean, not for the seller, but I really want these things to depreciate to where they can get into hoopty zone for me to buy them. So that's kind of where I'm watching the auctions.
Sure.
Like the Ferrari SF90 is one that's been a car that had a huge MSRP, like $700,000-800,000 new, and they're selling for about half that, which is rough for the people buying them, especially thinking the cars were going to be investments. So it's interesting to see, as far as the exotic world, what becomes hot, instant collectible, and goes on to crazy money, like say an 05, 06 Ford GT, which was a $250,000 car that was around $100,000 at one point, and now is $500,000 plus for a low mileage one, and what's going to be like a normal depreciation cycle on an exotic.
Well, those first generation Ford GTs, I love watching them sell over the years and the values to see where they're going, and that's kind of where I feel the market. I'll follow it and watch that, and I just always love to see what they're going to go for. And obviously the next generation of that being in Le Mans, watching them win their class in 2016, and we have quite a bit of Ford GTs going through this time around as well.
Yeah, it's also going to be interesting to see, we're looking at the exotic and that interesting range, the supercar range, but it's also going to be interesting to see where the market is going with regards to classics and muscle cars. I think we've been seeing a shift where, a few years ago, we were watching the 40s drop away. We're sort of starting to see the 50s drop away. I'm curious what's going to happen with the 60s. Now, some cars, don't get me wrong, they're just blue chips. We've got a 1965 Shelby GT350 and a 1966 Shelby GT350. So, those are blue chip, gold standard cars. You can never go wrong with those, I think. But it'll be interesting to see, what do the regular mid-year Corvettes do? What do the E-bodies, and what do the late the Camaros from 1969? It's just interesting to see how the market goes and where the ebbs and the flows are.
Right. Well, last year was the first time, I believe, like a custom Corvette brought $1 million, the Jeff Hayes car.
Right.
So will that continue? Because we've seen the ramp up as far as with the Customs as well, where it's gotten absolutely frenzied. So
well, and it's almost this crazy wild trend that I feel like has been going and getting better and better and better and better. I don't know if you can top a Jeff Hayes build on these Corvettes, but we'll find out soon. But it's definitely resto mods. I feel like the prices have been beating out restored originals.
Yeah, I remember, and once again, 15, 20 years ago, we always made the point that any modifications you made to a valuable Corvette was always going to drive down its price. And now it's exactly the opposite.
Right.
Now, don't get me wrong, it can't just be any modifications, but we've seen while Jeff Hayes does the absolute most spectacular resto mod conversions on Corvettes, there's a number of really good builders out there. We're building cars that are bringing well over what the stock version of that car would bring.
Right.
Well, and speaking of spectacular, Rick always describes his car knowledge as a mile wide and an inch deep. That's his normal joke. But Rick, you are going deep, deeper than the deep blue, like where the Titanic has sunk, on your YouTube channel.
Oh yeah,
making us all look bad.
It's so good, and I'll watch your channel, and I think I know all about the Tucker or the Thunderbird that you recently just did, and then I'm learning more and more and more and more.
It's good research for us as far as learning a car. So Rick has transitioned now to where he, like your broadcast, lifetime career in this has now transitioned into YouTube. And is now a YouTuber. So, when we introduce everybody now, it's going to be interesting because, how are you going to introduce yourself? Is Rick DeBrule of Rick DeBrule's Garage, and April's Garage, and Hoovie's Garage, and Steve Mignante in the Junkyard, and even Mike Joy Joyriding. So, everybody's doing it now.
Channel?
So, how's that transition been for you?
It's fun. To be honest with you, I'm one of those people, I love to stand around and talk about cars. So I can't get people to actually talk to me anymore. So now I just go stand at the museum and I stand around the cars and, I kind of talk to them. But, it's fun. It's going into a deep dive into each car. Like you say, whether it's a 1948 Tucker or the 1964 Thunderbird we just did, or even a 1934 DeSoto Airflow, they're fun cars to look at the history. I love, and April knows this, I love to tell the story of the car and how did the car car end up being this unique footnote in the automotive evolution. Some are really short, some are really long, and so it's fun to kind of do a deep dive and to be able to tell the stories about how they got there and what was significant about them. And,
So you make me insanely
I'm
jealous.
also on the board for a museum here in Phoenix. It's called the Martin Auto Museum. It's in the Phoenix area. And we got more than 170 cars, and it's fun to go through and look at all those cars. And I get to use their cars. And in fact, they're closed on Mondays, so I go in on Monday when no one's there and just sit around with the cars, and we just kind of we chat.
Well, here's what makes me jealous about it. Obviously, you do some research before, and there's plenty of probably information in the cars at the museum to where you're all polished up, unless that's all in your head and you've been joking with for all these years.
No, I have to do research. Yes.
Okay. But then his delivery is from his years of broadcasting, because YouTubers don't have to do it all in one take without cuts. And you're just used to that. So he'll go through and, holy crap, I've been watching this for 5, 7, 8 minutes, and there's not a single cut in
I know.
this.
He is
Or I'm like,
unbelievable.
if
He's
I
like
go
a robot.
30 seconds without a jump cut, I'm like, yes, I got it all out. There's where you and your history.
I
Me
don't
with the
hold a candle
YouTube
to the
background.
wick.
So me coming into doing live television, I had no live television experience before Barrett Jackson. Just YouTube, where I screw up and it's just me by myself, and I can say whatever curse word I want and start over, or just jump cut it, mid sentence if I want to. So live TV. I'm so glad you weren't there. You were taking a little hiatus from Barrett Jackson, when I started, because it was rough. Yeah.
It was rough. There's a learning curve, but I feel like you've come leaps and bounds. And
yes, but so a YouTuber going to TV is not as easy as a TV guy going to YouTube, as Rick has shown and you've shown, because they're both fantastic.
It's a lot easier.
I'm on your channel, so I'm kind of tooting my own horn, but Rick's channel's great. I don't miss an episode.
Right.
Well, and I think you're selling yourself a little short, Tyler. And I think, you do a great job, but the reason you do a great job, and the reason I enjoy what I do, is because it's in our blood. It's not just that these are a random car that we want to go talk about. The fact that we really like all this stuff. I mean, the reality is, I go back to the point I was just saying. If you weren't making money at this, you'd still be standing on a street corner somewhere talking with somebody about the latest Ferrari that came out. You just happen to figure out how to make a YouTube channel around it.
That's so true.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm not as polished, and I try and be more polished when I'm on Barrett Jackson, but every once in a while it slips out. So I don't know if you remember the William Shatner thing.
Oh my God.
Where afterwards, I did the William Shatner interview, I found all that stuff. It was very fun. But then afterwards, I think you said something to me like, well, Tyler, why aren't you bidding on this car? Don't you really want it? And I said, well, who doesn't want a car where William Shatner farted in the seats? Which that's what came out of the very, very bad thing. Like, don't say that on national television. And so
Right.
I'm still.
By the way, anybody who has not seen the Tyler Hoover interview of William Shatner, you have missed out on one of the great moments in television. You have to go find that. Go look at it. I'm sure it's up on YouTube on one of the Barrett Jackson shows. I can't remember exactly what day it was, but it was definitely one of the high points of our broadcast over the year. It was great.
High point of my life, honestly.
It probably was.
There's a few moments with April, I suppose. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So we're looking forward to an incredible week. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through it. I need to find like an IV place to kind of pump me up throughout the week, because we have our production meetings at 7 in the morning sometimes, and then we're live on air 10 hours, and then it's rinse and repeat. And I don't know how we get through it. By Sunday, we're all kind of zombies, but it's a wild ride.
I know the auctioneers have everything as far as like to keep their voice going. They have all the tonics in the back and everything else, right? All the Tylenols and all the things, right?
If anyone comes to Barrett Jackson, if you can sneak into the auctioneer's back room, they have probably 5,000 items of backup safety issues, items, little medicines.
Not illicit drugs. I mean, you would think so with the way they're talking and mumbling and things. But I mean, it's all legal stuff. Right? It's just everything to keep you going and your voice going.
Right.
Well, and most importantly, I mean, and I've used some of the stuff back there, the stuff to keep your throat from getting sore, from getting raspy. They're the masters of that. And while we're up there talking, they're doing it at a much higher pace and a much higher pitch. So, where they're kind of, I'd say they're yelling, but their volume is way up there. So to protect their voices, they have a lot of stuff, a lot of tricks of the trade. And trust me, I've tried to learn from them over the years.
Oh, yeah. Going to be a wild ride.
Yeah, well, looking forward to it, Rick, and looking forward to more YouTube videos on your channel. We'll put the link below so you all can check it out and subscribe to his channel. Yeah, you're bringing in some of that YouTube money now, huh?
Oh yeah, big bucks. I can't. Pretty soon I'll be buying, the Pagani because
There you go.
that YouTube money is just flowing my way.
Great. Thanks, Rick. Looking forward to it, and we will see you next week.
I look forward to seeing both of you in Scottsdale.
All right.